Hello YouTube. Today I've got a 2011 Volvo XC70 with the 3.2 liter naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. Today's job is to replace the throttle body. Unfortunately, I didn't get a video of the troubleshooting process, but we've determined that the throttle body on this vehicle is defective and causing a no start concern. Pretty easy job to do here if you've got the right tools. First order of business, we've got to get this air intake tubing out of the way. And to do that, we've got to take the top lid of the air cleaner off so that we can remove this clamp and that clamp there. There's not really enough space to just pull the tube off without doing the air box. So we'll go ahead and do that. Typically a T25 here. So just remove those T25s. Looks like this one has been replaced with a standard Phillips. So we got the air box lid off. So from here, we'll loosen this hose clamp, which has a flathead slot, or use a 7mm, which is what I prefer to do, till it's loose. And on the other end here, I'll move the camera. There's another hose clamp that we'll need to loosen, also with 7mm. All right, so what I'm using here is a socket driver here, 1/4-inch drive with a 7mm socket. We just want to get down here enough to loosen the hose clamp. Looks like we've got it sufficiently loose here. All right. Okay, so with both hose clamps loosened, we can proceed with trying to get this air intake tubing out. Normally what I like to do is I like to support the air intake tubing with one hand and take the top of the air box here and just kind of wiggle it sideways, side to side as I'm pulling out. As you can see there, it comes right out. We'll just go ahead and set that aside. And then from there, we'll do the same kind of rocking motion while pulling back towards the driver's fender to remove it from the air intake. And as you can see, I've got it kind of loose. We just want to carefully twist and pull until it comes loose. And then from here, the air intake tubing comes off of the throttle body. Access to the throttle body is kind of tight. It is held on with 4 T30 head bolts or screws right here, 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 and then one more right about there. Take your time and you can get them out. I usually will take these out before removing the electrical connector because you just can't get to the electrical connector. I'll use a power tool here, but it's certainly doable with normal hand tools if you've got them. Just use what you got. So I usually start off removing the ones that are harder to access. Here's more or less what they look like. Okay, so as you can see from here, the throttle body is loose. I forgot to mention, before you even start this job, you want to make sure you have the key out of the ignition and the battery disconnected. You don't want this to power up while you are working on it. You could lose a finger. As you can see there, I've wiggled the throttle body around so that we can see the electrical connector, which is right here. Just a matter of pushing that release tab while pulling the electrical connector out. Kind of hard to see. I don't know if we'll be able to get that on camera or not, but we'll give it a shot. Okay. Probably had my big fat head in the way, but here it is. So from here, we'll get a rag and wipe up and replace that throttle body gasket there, which you see in green right now. The new one that we got from the parts store is a different color, but should be the same. Here's the part number for the one that I got at the local parts store. Basically the same thing, just different color. And we'll go ahead and just put it in the slot on the intake manifold. So very important to just run your finger around and make sure that it is seated in its groove there. And then now we can move on to reinstalling the new throttle body. So here's the one that we got from the parts store locally here. A little bit better looking than the one that came out. I verified that the part numbers on each unit matched, so we're good to go there. So basically just reversive removal. We'll snake this back down in here, connect the electrical connection, and just bolt it back up. Let's see if I can get this connected. It stinks at the connector. The factory layout for this connector is to hide behind a coolant hose, so you can't just pull it up to where you can get to everything and click it on. You have to have it behind the coolant hose as you're clicking it on. Okay, as you can hear there, I'll move out of the way. Maybe you can see right here, here's a coolant hose that I'm talking about right there. And there is a connector, and it's got to all be behind the coolant hose when everything is in place. So carefully set things where they're supposed to go. There's a lot of stuff in the way here. You want to make sure that the intake gasket that you've just put on did not fall out of place. So more or less we just got it back in. And now we'll just start everything. It is a lot easier to see here than what the camera is showing. It's not really a good place to put the camera where we both can see what we're doing, so apologies for that. I am not snugging these down all the way yet. I'm just getting them started. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get a small ratchet so that I can hand torque those, and I'll have the torque specs in the video description. If you don't have one of these are actually quite handy. So let me go get another tool so I can torque those on properly, and then we'll plug the scan tool in and go from there. Okay, so I've got the ignition on and just did a quick scan of the codes here. We have this P061F00. We'll go ahead and clear it. Okay, let's just see if it has come back. Nothing has come back. There is no relearn on the scan tool that I'm finding. So we'll just go ahead and go to an actuation test. And we will actuate it to 100%. I'll set the focus on the throttle body over here so you can see it. All right, we see that it is working. Let's just try a different setting here. So you might be able to see that it's open a little bit. We'll just go to 50%. Now we'll go back to fault codes and see if there's any fault codes. And as you can see, we don't have any. So we'll go ahead and put everything back together now that we know that the throttle body's working. All right, I know you guys hate it, but reverse of removal, we'll just make sure that these clamps are setting in their little groove right here on both clamps. So this one's moved, so we want to make sure it's more or less centered back in its groove here. Doesn't need to be quite that loose, just setting them in the groove and tightening them down just a little bit so that it doesn't move too much is beneficial for reinstallation. So we'll go ahead and just snap this back into place. Just gotta fish everything down carefully. And to get it back into place, it's just backwards of how we did it. We just use like a twisting, pushing motion instead of a pulling, twisting motion. And when this thing snaps back into place, you kind of feel it. And here we go. So we'll go ahead and tighten this hose clamp now that that's in place. And now we can work on the air box. So typically, just push it back in, kind of a push-twist motion. We'll set everything back in place here. And last one, this hose clamp right here. These hoses actually have a mark right here that indicates how they should be more or less lined up. All right, last piece of the equation. We'll see if the vehicle starts now. So I don't know if you heard that, but that was the ECM relearning the throttle position as to where it needs to be to get the idle performance that it's looking for. So it's coming back down to normal curb idle for a cold engine like this. And we'll go ahead and make sure there's no other codes that have come up on the scan tool. So let's go check for codes here. And we still don't have any codes. All right, well, there's a successful repair. As you can see, not too terrible of a job as long as you have a way to access those screws that hold the throttle body in, and you can get your hands in there to disconnect the connector. Anyway, if you found the video helpful, click on the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thanks, and have a great day. So I figured you guys might like some bonus footage here. Here's the throttle body that just came off of that Volvo. As you can see here, that throttle plate was stuck. I don't know if you saw that. I had to put some pressure there to get it unstuck. So that's what was going on here, is this throttle just was not opening, even when it was trying to be commanded open. That thing was stuck pretty well. So what I did here is I drilled out the rivets, and we'll see if we could get this thing taken apart here. Sorry about how awkward it is. I just don't have a lot of room between the throttle body and the camera to work here. All right, so this is more or less the throttle position sensor, and then these are the two contacts that provide DC power to the throttle motor here. And here's the gear upon which it rotates to open the butterflies. I'm not currently seeing anything overly wrong here, but like I said, it was getting stuck. No problems with that sprocket. Let's just check the teeth here. Oh, here we go. I don't know if you can see it. There we go, right there. It's missing a tooth. I wonder if the piece that was in it is still floating around in here. Oh, look at that. So there's the broken tooth. Yeah, as you can see, it's missing a tooth there. That's not good. Well, interestingly enough, it's freed up now. Let me go get some cables here and see if we can make this thing actuate. Alright, so I've got a Milwaukee 12-volt battery here connected to some meter probes. This is just merely a DC motor. I don't know which way we got to run the polarity to get it to open or shut. We'll try it. Okay, so that's shut. Let's see if this is open again. Huh. Interesting. With the throttle plate stuck again. Yeah, it was stuck. Okay, so I don't know if you heard that or saw that. Let's see if I can get a better angle for you. Okay, this is not quite how it operates in the vehicle. I believe the ECM varies the voltage to get to different throttle openings. As you can see, it's working now. If we go back in the closed direction, I wonder if it just got stuck again. Yeah, it was stuck again. So that was what was going on with this thing. I wonder if the throttle plate getting stuck is what contributed to the teeth here breaking. Anyway, just thought you guys would like to see some bonus footage here before I put this back in the box and set it in for a core charge.